Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of How Did This Get Booked? I, of course, am your host, Jake Manning, and I'm a veteran of the professional wrestling business for over a decade, and I've held every single job except selling popcorn. I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, my tent go-getter, my traveling buddy. I had another one.
You're going to start writing these down?
Yeah, I'm going to start writing these. I had a really good one of something that happened to you recently. A man who gets his card charged multiple times at a Orlando resort.
Turns out they think you're doing you a favor by getting you a really nice hotel, and that hotel says, oh, but fuck that. Here is $75 a day charge just for amenities you don't use.
Charge to my co-host, Zane Riley. Zane Riley, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm poor. Poor. I didn't make any money after that weekend.
What are you talking about? I paid for Arby's on the way back home.
You sure did. Well, an Arby's that closes at 10:40 when the guy says, it's fucking 11.
Well, that's because he's sassy.
He was so sassy.
So sassy. But speaking of another sassy individual, we are joined
Segues 101.
by our non-wrestling fan of the day, comedian Mike Buczek. Mike, how you doing today?
I am doing well. How about yourself?
Good. Thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate this. Mike's always somebody that I always cherish to see at the open mic. Sometimes I don't see him all the time like some of the young kids, but when I see him, it's always a joy and a pleasure. Especially the last time I saw you at a mic, we randomly had from America's Got Talent, Preacher Lawson showed up to the mic, and Mike had to be the next comedian on stage.
Yeah, that's great.
Follow that killer.
Pretty much. A touring headliner, a television star, went up there, crushed it for like 8 minutes, and now let's bring up Mike Buczek. You can use that for a credit, because I just use that as a credit on this podcast. So
I'm trying to add some validity to this thing.
Well, I didn't want to embarrass him. I felt like I had to kind of hold back after that.
Yeah, he was like, let me go back to let me dig in the notebook.
Let him have his glory. He's been on TV. So
Make him look big in front of everybody else. But
Mike, too easy almost.
Mike, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
We had two options for this show because we're doing this in November.
Oh yes.
And one of them was in the mid '90s, and then the one was in the late '90s. But when I asked Mike, were you ever a pro wrestling fan? The years fit in the last one, so you might have actually saw the other show we were going to discuss for November. But so that's why you're doing a late '90s version as opposed to an early '90s one. 90s show, because you said you were a pro wrestling fan for a short period of time. Tell me about your experience of professional wrestling, your exposure to it, what you liked about it, and why you drifted away.
Sure. So the biggest match I probably remember seeing back then, I somehow was able to get $50 or whatever it was for the pay-per-view with some cough up some money together with some friends, and it was the ladder match between, was it Razor Ramon and Shawn Michaels?
See, exactly. See, that's why that's what qualifies you if you're used to be a pro wrestling fan. If you say, I remember a match and it's all question marks.
Yeah. So there's a possibility in your mind that you completely made up this bit of history.
Exactly.
I think I did, actually.
Okay. Never happened, so I understand.
Because, sometimes the field's a little bit smaller, so, like, some people that were fans, I bring them on as opposed to complete non-fans, so, like, I find sometimes the former fans are the most interesting, because, like, there was a time where you really liked it, and then there was a time that you weren't, and then also, too, when you get on here, like, you ask these questions, like, Shawn Michaels, Razor Ramon, where like wrestling fans are listening to it's like, that's the seminal match from WrestleMania 10 in 1994. For you, it's just a distant memory.
Yeah, because I guess the Royal Rumble earlier that year was like what, Undertaker and Yokozuna was the big match on that one.
Jesus fucking Christ, you're too overqualified.
See, almost, but he said it in question marks. He said Royal Rumble.
He almost said Rumble.
I said Rumber.
I think that's just a mild stroke going on.
He takes royal umbrage with what you just said. Man. So
this is awful.
But yeah, those are the two things that you said you remember. Is there anything else you remember from your time of being a pro wrestling fan?
So I remember buying a Shawn Michaels T-shirt, right? But it was like one of those you had to order like directly from the WWF back then or something. And so it like comes in the mail, and it's this just unbelievably gaudy just shirt with. It's just his giant face on it, So I get this thing and I'm like, why did I ever think I was going to walk around wearing a picture of this man
who's dressed like a stripper?
Yeah. I look like I would have looked like a victim of that pedophile. That like that's how he stamped his victims, was making him wear that shirt. It was that bad.
Man, this pedophile just gives his shirt out. That's a really shitty calling card. Yeah. You're a terrible pedophile. You're gonna get caught real easy.
Well, you know, I mean, that's how you hide in plain sight.
There you go. That is good.
Well, funny story about that.
I was also molested by Shawn Michaels.
Yes, let me back up with that, but it has to do with Shawn Michaels. Obviously, the fair came to town in Preston, Iowa, because that's as you do in the small country towns. And you know, there's the where you throw the darts and you pop the balloons. I mean, that's like the easiest one if you want to win a prize. And sometimes those fair things, you got the opportunity to get those posters that are in the cheap plastic cardboard frames. And obviously, this was during a time where you have the ones where you have the women in the swimsuits. You'd have like the sports figures. You'd also have the men, like for like the jacked up men and the little speedos and stuff like that for the women. But there was also one that had wrestling guys in there. But obviously, the guy who's running the balloon popping dart thing doesn't know the difference between any of them. Yeah. So I go up and I'm trying to win a Shawn Michaels picture frame, which I end up winning. And then he's I'm probably a 12, 13-year-old boy. He's probably thinking I'm going to go for the girl in the bikini, and because I'm in the middle of nowhere, a very, very red country, town coming from a town of 82 people. He's thinking, oh, he's going to get the girl in the bikini. I'm going to give this guy, his first little nip slit type.
I'm going to show some of my personal collection.
I'm going to give this guy a poster he's going to jerk off to the rest of his life. And I instead I'll take the Heartbreak Kid.
He wasn't wrong with the Shawn Michaels.
No, exactly. He wasn't wrong at all. I was definitely jerking off to that Shawn Michaels picture for the rest of my life. Because this is before the internet, guys. All right, so
do what you can.
You gotta do what you can. You got to win your porn at the fair. Like that's what you do back in that day. You kids today with porn on your phone. Oh, yeah. You actually had to take darts and pop 3 balloons out of 5 darts to get your porn. Like that's how specific it was. But I'll never forget the look on that man's face when I asked for that. He's like, "Oh, this kid's going to have a rough life in the next couple of years in this small town."
This kid's going to become bald and grow a weird mustache.
Oh, gosh.
Like, drags you out by your ear and talks to your mom.
This kid's lifestyle is going to give him hell in this neighborhood. He'll never be able to come back to this place once he defines who he is.
Not in my America.
Which, once again, is the truth,
Yeah.
So it's factual. It's factual. And it has nothing to do with my sexual preference. No. So how about that?
You're like, no, sir, the Shawn Michaels one.
So outside of the Shawn Michaels T-shirt and those vivid memories, anything else that you remember about being a pro wrestling fan?
Just a few like Monday Night Raws and I don't know, some video games and
just the general exposure of someone your age, when you ran across it,
Yeah, I mean, I had it seemed like my friends and I were kind of all into it about the same. I mean, we're more maybe casual fans,
Like you just bump into him, like, "Hey, did you see it?" "No, I didn't." I was whatever, Or like, "Oh, this was really cool," or "Oh, I watched it last night," but then it could come and go whenever in your lifetime. I
would probably, I think I would record the Monday Night Raws on VHS,
Hell yeah.
Watch back without commercial,
Yeah, I used to do that as well. What made you drift away from it?
I'm trying to think if I got into the Insane Clown Posse before or after wrestling.
You should be more of a bigger wrestling fan because of the Insane Clown Posse.
It seems like a natural, segue.
Is it taking a turn for the worse?
But
whoop.
I think it was Insane Clown Posse and also smoking a lot of pot after that. I was like, I don't have time for wrestling. And
once again, all these things should drift you closer to professional wrestling.
Or suicide, actually.
I mean, right now, either one is very viable.
Let's go all the way.
No, I just with a number of things in my life, I just kind of woke up one day and just didn't care about them at all anymore. Mm-hmm. Probably why I never got married, don't have kids or anything. But
just that drifting away of things that you like.
It was always,
wrestling's dumb. I'm supposed to smoke weed and listen to clowns rap.
Exactly.
That shit sounds rad.
Well, the weed made the idea of clowns rapping.
They always said the thing that gets you before you become an Eagle Scout is perfume and gasoline. But apparently the thing that makes you drift away from pro wrestling is clowns and weed smoke.
But it was just like I would just like wake up and be like, done with that. And then like I did the same thing with Insane Clown Posse. Like years later, like just sold like everything and like one lot on eBay, and like ugh, fuck that. And then of course you have to make fun of anybody.
Tell me about that Craigslist pickup.
What?
Oh, this is pre-Craigslist. This is eBay.
What got you out of that? What took away from like I don't even care about weed and clowns anymore? Vagina? Like I don't. What is it? What did it?
Better life choices. I don't know.
Just arguable.
You know what it was? I think I just woke up one day and I realized that I was listening to clowns rap.
There you go.
And I was like, wait a minute.
Fair enough.
I've been wrong the whole time.
He moved on to bigger and better things like Nickelback. Like it's just a natural progression.
Nickelback and shitty Pamela Anderson tattoos.
I had that like iconic Pamela Anderson poster on my wall.
You did. Barbed wire tattoo and everything.
I could have won that, but I got the Shawn Michaels instead. So I had the option for that. But...
You mean that undesirable prize?
Yes.
And also your huge love for Baywatch. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and Shawn Michaels was also on Baywatch, so it all comes full circle.
Was he really?
Yes, he was. He played a bodyguard.
Watch that episode soon for this show.
Yes, we will. But before we get into the topic of discussion, I have to put this in a quick housekeeping thing. I'm putting it at the top of the show because I'm making it a priority. People have been writing reviews and getting free t-shirts. Although not enough of you have been doing that recently. It kind of slacked off a little bit, but we're doing great on that. And so I got to tell you, thank you to everybody who has written a review and gotten a free t-shirt. We appreciate that. And right now on Stitcher's Sponge Cake 7, you're still at the top. Woo! After months. We've been recording these episodes back to back, so I'll say basically your name for an entire month now. So Sponge Cake 7, you've been basically mentioned on this podcast for 3 months now. But on iTunes, OG Rosen, you have been knocked off of the top of iTunes. We have a new champion on the iTunes review, Josh Strickland, who I assume is just Shane Strickland's real name.
Yeah.
So thank you, Shane Strickland.
Thank you, Swerve City Podcast.
Thank you, Swerve City Josh Strickland. We thank you very much for that. Your shirt was sent out last week, I believe. I might have actually accidentally sent a 10 Bell Pod t-shirt. I've been sending out a lot of those as well.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so guys, let's jump on the option. You get to, if you leave a review on iTunes or Stitcher and then DM me or email me at jake@sslshow.com. With your t-shirt size and your address, you will get a free t-shirt for How Did This Get Booked just by simply leaving a review. I want to reward you guys for leaving a review for How Did This Get Booked.
What did he say?
Just so that we were awesome.
Oh.
Two of his favorite indie talents.
The
huge.
Thanks, Swerve.
The huge.
The
huge.
Swerve understands talent.
Swerve's like, hey, Man Scout, thanks for driving me from Des Moines, Iowa, all the way to Newport, Tennessee, in the matter of 12 hours overnight.
And your fat friends need to.
Yeah, exactly. So, thank you for that, guys. Like I said, we will list your name we'll say your name on the show. You will get a free t-shirt if you DM us on Twitter, or you email me at jake@sslshow.com, your address and t-shirt size. A lot of people forget the t-shirt size part now. It's always have to follow up, but I believe we're caught up on How Did This Get Booked t-shirts right now. So
but
thank
if
you
it's
for
a
that.
wrestling podcast, you have to really ask the size of the
Yes, you really do. There's a lot of 4X's going on.
Okay.
A lot of 4X's.
And
between 3X's.
This isn't early 90s. It's not. We're not doing the one size fits most around here.
No. I will specifically get your particular size. I'm not going to just mail you an extra large when you're a 3X.
This is a custom tailored shirt.
No. Yeah, I'm not a dick. It's a nice Gilead shirt usually, so it's a quality shirt.
Make sure you flip that shit inside out when you wash it. You want to keep that logo on there as long as possible.
Exactly. So now that out of the way, let's get into the topic of discussion. Like I said, we had that. It is November, so we are going to stick with the theme, much like last month. We talked about Halloween Havoc, which I think was going to be kind of a theme going forward. In October, we're going to talk about WCW Halloween Havoc in October, but in November, we're going to talk about WWE Survivor Series. We had discussion of one of the early 90s ones, but we are discussing today WWE Survivor Series 1999, which is the third installment of the Survivor Series. It is presented by Rent-A-Center and Nokia, which is a fantastic cell phone company that no longer exists anymore. The show happened on November 14th,
Man, those were great phones.
1999, and the show emanates from the Joe Louis Arena, which is a How Did This Get Booked classic, you know?
I was trying to think about how many shows we've done that has been. It's at least 4, right? This is number 4.
Well, this would be the third, actually,
Okay.
but technically, it is the fourth because we watched I Like to Hurt People, and that discussed Cobo Hall, so technically this is the fourth one that we have discussed here on How Did This Get Booked. Something about Joe Louis Arena and substandard professional wrestling. Shocker, because it's something from the Sheik's territory, in Detroit, Michigan. Attendance for this show was 18,735, which is actually far more than the previous shows that we've discussed. In WCW Halloween Havoc 1994 had 14,000 people, where Halloween Havoc 1995 had 13,000 people. And you might be wondering, why are you discussing a show that happened after Vince Russo left? Well, things didn't get much better in WWF. In fact, they got much, much weirder, as we will discuss on this show. But when we were looking up bad Survivor Series, this popped up, and I was kind of surprised.
It was real, out of the top 10, it was close to the bottom. It was like number 1, number 2.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised it was on this list because I remember watching this as a child.
Yeah.
So this is part of I got to relive some of my childhood, but I also, after rewatching it, I see why it's on the list. At the time, I didn't see it, but now I see it.
This shit gets downright uncomfortable at points.
Absolutely. Some of this stuff does not age well.
No, not at all.
And we will get to all of. There's 10 matches, so we're going to try and breeze through this as quickly as possible. So we'll see how this goes.
Good luck.
Starting off with a intro video promoting a match that doesn't fucking happen between Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, and Triple H. Really pushing that whole angle home, which will not fucking happen. This match that will not happen, which is the advertised main event. Like, now would be a good time to let you know that Stone Cold Steve Austin is too hurt to compete, and we will find a way to make sure that we do not hurt him in the ring. But we will hurt him in a parking garage.
So let's just hit him with a car.
Yeah, let's just hit that motherfucker with a car.
Yeah.
So that is. I think that's part of the reason why.
I mean, when your substitute is the Big Show, especially that era Big Show, you want to let that simmer to the very end.
You don't want to make that announcement until
During heat.
until 2 hours into the pay-per-view, so that way people can't get refunds.
Exactly.
And I think that's part of the reason why this show is on the worst of list, because I do remember being thoroughly disappointed when all of the events happened.
Really?
Yes. And I was not a big internet mark or dirt sheet reader, so I was just like, well, surely Stone Cold Steve Austin's gonna get hit by a car and he's gonna come out and wrestle, because you wouldn't fake me out like this, or
you care about us.
you care about me, WWE.
Professional wrestling wouldn't lie to us.
No, never.
But let's jump into match number 1. Like I said, we have 10 of these fucking things, so let's get through all of them as quickly as possible. Match number 1 consists of D'Lo Brown, the Godfather, and the Headbangers versus the Acolytes and the Dudley Boys. So
this shit hits the ground running for weird. For it's cringe.
Yes. So what are your thoughts on this opening match? And what are your thoughts on the fact that one of the Headbangers looks like he's kind of in blackface when it really
kinda.
When he's really just wearing big eye makeup that almost covers his whole face. Like he's 2/3 of the way to blackface in this outfit.
I overlooked that part, but I was judging it in historical context just because he's the guy was a pimp and he comes out there with his hoe train.
Yeah, where they had to find hoes in every city, and that was his thing.
Yeah,
so.
I thought that was Luda's thing, really, but
What were your so Mike? You watched WWE when it was a much more wholesome product, and here we are bringing hose throwing to start a pay-per-view. What are your thoughts?
I was impressed.
It's weird.
No, I was unfamiliar with most of those characters. I know they tend to, I guess, like reinvent people, and then they'll just come back as another character. Forget about that other guy. And so that kind of part of it was interesting. That any time anybody spells anything wrong with a Z, I'm immediately turned off. So the Dudley Boys.
So with the Attitude Era, you're not a fan of. No. The entire Attitude Era and everything that Vince Russo put it down on a piece of paper.
And Mountain Dew's idea of advertising.
Yeah,
in
like
the future.
Vince Russo didn't want to use S's, he just wanted to use Z's on
I don't
everything.
like Z's, and I don't like X's to take the place of EX.
Yes. So you probably be like, why is Papa Shango out here with all these prostitutes?
Is that who that was?
Yeah, it's Papa Shango.
Okay.
That's Papa Shango.
What were you talking about then?
Yeah, who were you talking about? We're like,
I thought the Godfather said that's the same.
that's Papa Shango.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
that's Papa Shango with all those prostitutes. So for you, mind blowing right at the top. So, what else did you think about this match?
It was just it's pretty boring, to be honest. I mean, there's just seemed like there was no real kind of cohesive idea, and just this running theme with like refs being distracted and everything, and then you could just do anything if you could just get your teammate to like pull the ref aside,
Like unprotected chair shots.
Holy shit!
Yeah, exactly. Chair shots, or I guess not in this case, but like belts, whatever. Whatever it is, these refs really need to do a better job. I mean,
all kinds of things. What were your thoughts on this match?
I was insanely uncomfortable hearing the King talk about hoes for so long, and puppies and kitties and whatnot. And then some of the signs were amazing. One, I misread it first because I was half-ass paying attention right away, and it said hoe train, but what I read was hot rain, and I was like, what the fuck does that mean? And then I was like, oh, wait a minute, hoe train, duh. And then
Hot Rain was one of Dustin Rhodes'
I
like
would assume.
incarnations. Was
right
Hot
before
Rain.
7, but
Yeah, exactly.
And then there was another one that said, oh, fuck. Something town was
Oh,
hotel.
fuck? Is that what it said? Oh,
No,
fuck?
yeah, I would not have been surprised.
Yeah, exactly. Special Attitude Era signs.
It said, like, D-town is ho-town or some shit like that.
Yeah.
And then, like, the King talks about it. And then there was one other. Where he's talking about just rolling a fatty for this pimp daddy.
yeah.
Man, you can't say that these days.
Motherfucker, he said that shit
Right,
all the time.
And then when he said it, I was like, oh, fuck, I remember that happening always.
And never thought twice about it.
Never knew what he really was talking about.
Nope. Not at all.
My favorite sign was who farted? Hi, Dad.
Yes, that was my favorite as well.
That's a good sign.
That's a good fucking sign. Like
Have that sign everywhere.
if you have a platform, that's what the fuck you say. That's
I just lift up my sleeve. I've got that tattooed.
you do actually. Wow. And also you got ICP on there.
Yeah, wow.
Oh god.
2 scoops of whoop on your arm.
Now, I got my ear pierced when I was 11, and that lasted like a month.
Yeah.
And so, as a result of that, I don't have any tattoos or anything like that. So.
That was a good call. I fucked up. I should have got my ear pierced out.
For me, with this match, it reminds me of a college paper that I wrote for.
What the fuck?
Hold on. For a class called Minorities in the Media. And
Wait, in your Iowa college?
No, at Western Illinois University.
Okay.
And actually, the guy who was instructing the course was the guy who wrote the book on it. But Buzz Hoon.
A white man.
Yes, bald white man.
What's his mustache game like?
Not as strong as mine.
Okay.
Not as strong as mine.
Continue.
Exactly. But Minorities in the Media, so obviously a big pro wrestling fan. I wrote it about professional wrestling. And even in the early 2000s, I was like, yeah, some of these stereotypes are problematic, but at least they're champions. Like, that was the point, because the Godfather was Intercontinental Champion, and I talked about The Rock being champion, but yet, how they were portrayed was probably maybe not the best, but at the same time, too, there was a wide variety of them as opposed to a limited amount, much in the earlier days. So, yes, they're representative, but their representation's probably not the best. And we have basically 2 pimps on here.
He's an entrepreneur.
Small businessman.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Small business.
Also, he's a job creator.
Also, too, with this match, I forgot how much fucking ass Bradshaw used to kick back in the day.
Man.
Like, holy fuck. Like, it just kind of blends in with all the people just beating the fuck out of each other. But, like, you look back and you see another man manhandle another man like that. I'm like, oh, yeah, now I see why everybody thinks you're a badass, because you fucking were. Like, because now you see him, and it looks like just an old dude, an old Republican, just got a shitload of money, living in the Cayman Islands. That's what he looks like now.
That's what he is.
This is what he is right now. But there was a time. Big fucking ass kicker. Completely fucking forgot it. And it just kind of nice to go back on that. Yeah. I also loved how The Godfather just did a comeback and did 2 promos, and that was it.
Yeah,
like,
that's all you need.
And that's all he needed.
You get to lead a team.
Yeah.
I was blown. I had known, but I'd totally forgotten about just for being a big fat fuck like Bubba Ray was, how he could get the fuck up there for you.
Yeah, kid.
How he basically just sky-high'd himself. And then D'Lo caught up with them.
Oh, yeah. Like Bubba was amazing, Devon. And the Dudley Boys had just debuted in WWF at that time in August of '99. So this is them just coming right in. So like this is awesome. This is great. I did this match, but yeah, there's a lot of action, but a lot of it don't fucking make sense. Welcome to the Attitude Era.
Dudley's agility kind of reminded me of Bam Bam Bigelow back in.
Oh, see, exactly. And Bubba Ray was not Bam Bam Bigelow, if you're curious. Just to let you know.
Papa Shango was the Godfather, but
show me the death certificate.
It didn't always work out like that. Yeah. Oh. I've never seen him in the same place, all I'm saying. So write that down. Actually, you probably could have an ECW. You've seen them in the same place.
Actually, yeah, you would if you were some in the same.
All the time, really.
All the time. Like
take
a lot
that
of
back.
house shows.
Take that out in editing.
Okay, I'll take that out in editing. But what we will keep in is the discussion of a debuting superstar in Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle is now a WWE Hall of Famer and quite a big deal. But this is everybody's first. What am I looking for here? Exposure. His first exposure to him on television. He did multiple dark matches and house show matches, but this is his first exposure on television, wrestling Stan Stasiak. Mike, what were your thoughts on Stan Stasiak taking on Kurt Angle?
I was unfamiliar with, I guess, his father. Stan's father was a...
Stan the Man Stasiak. Yeah. Actually, did I just call Sean Stasiak Stan?
Maybe I missed it out. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I just did a 3-part Andre the Giant
spoilers, bro,
podcast and a Bruno Sammartino podcast. So I'm stuck on Stan Stasiak when I should be talking about Sean Stasiak on this podcast. Same guy.
So my thoughts, my immediate thoughts were how old I am when I think it was either Jerry the King Lawler or Jim Ross mentioned that I think Sean was in his mid-20s.
Mm-hmm.
And I just immediately wanted to kill myself. And I blacked out for the rest of the match.
He was there. He didn't miss a whole lot.
No, you didn't. Yeah.
I like how Kurt grabbed the microphone and so that you don't boo an Olympic champion.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And which I agree with that sentiment, I guess. Depending on what they did,
Yeah, you shouldn't kneel for the American flag, and you don't boo an Olympic champion.
There you go.
You don't kneel.
Hot takes here.
Hot takes.
Did you guys vote today?
Or at the same time too, do what you want.
Yeah.
Boo an Olympic champion, kneel for the national anthem. Do either or.
Yeah, do what you want.
Because that's the freedom we fought for. That's the freedom that Stan Stasiak fought for when he fought in World War I.
When Stan the Man took out Ivan Drago or some shit.
Yeah, I don't remember how World War I went.
No,
I listened to like
when he fistfought the Nazis.
I listened to 5 minutes of a Dan Carlin podcast. I think I know how World War I went. It was Stan the Man Stasiak versus Hitler. Right? That's how that went down. Genghis Khan might have been involved. I don't know. So,
little Genghis Khan in us all.
All I know is he fought for our freedom to kneel for the national anthem. That's all I know. Yeah,
but not to boo Olympic.
Yeah,
exactly. That's where we're going to draw the line. Okay, now we come back around on both ends. I had on one side or the other side, but that's a more of a centrist view right there. So, what were your thoughts on the match, Zane?
Stan Stasiak had a really nice tan. No,
you mean Sean?
Sean
Stasiak.
You guys are obsessed with this guy's dad.
Yeah, his dad was way radder.
Well,
had a really nice tan.
Silver Fox,
and he and I are friends on Twitter. Sean is.
What you got old fucking Sean to retweet about this fucking podcast?
I will now. I'm going to talk about how we talked about him in a positive way.
Yeah.
How his dad fought the Nazis, and he's got a really good tan.
Yeah.
He's some sort of doctor now.
He's a chiropractor.
Yes, there we go. That's a doctor. Well, you don't believe it. You think you're kind of you think they're all quacks, but
Yeah, and I grew up.
no wonder he's not going to talk about our goddamn podcast. You're shitting on his doctor ability.
His profession?
Dr. Stasiak.
Yeah, he's a chiropractor. Don't call him a doctor.
He's a doctor.
Listen, I grew up an hour away from Palmer Chiropractic College, which is the cradle of civilization for all chiropractors. I have the right to shit on chiropractors as much as I fucking want. All right?
Says the guy that has an orgasm every time he pops his neck.
Well, because I do it myself. I'm not paying anybody's copay. Like, get out of here.
I don't have insurance. I'm a wrestler.
Yeah, get out of here.
It made Kurt Angle look really good. He was just a buy to be there, and that's fine. And Kurt Angle looked good, sold his ass off. I enjoyed it. And him cutting that "you don't boo an Olympic gold medalist" promo was really good. You get a good bit of sense into his character and his like ability to kind of improv and go with stuff and feed off people. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, but also too, like looking at it like as a guy who like trains people and is evaluating guys all the time. Like you get to see how green Kurt Angle was at one moment in time because like I've now had decades now of seeing Kurt Angle being a wrestling machine, but this is like his TV debut, and you're like, oh wow, this is where he started. And then it's also too, you start doing the math, and you're like, holy shit, 2 years from now, he's gonna be a fucking machine. Like he's gonna be like the best wrestler in the world.
He was a fucking machine last night on Monday Night Raw.
Yeah, like
he wrestled Drew McIntyre, and what I hear was an amazing match.
because he's a fucking wrestling machine. Like but this is like the beginning of it, and you're like, oh, this is really green. Oh, he's doing this, but like. Now you look at him like, holy fuck. But even like, that 2 years from this point, from where we were watching, he will be one of the best wrestlers in the world. It's just fucking amazing.
Yeah.
So
like, how do they coach him to get to act like that? I mean, for the first time.
I don't know.
Tell him to calm down a little bit. Like,
He's just a fucking freak, man. Just a fucking freak of nature. So. But speaking of freaks of nature, we see a clip from Sunday Night Heat where we see we're still pushing Steve Austin, Triple H, and The Rock as our main event.
Oh heck yeah!
Which will not be our main event. Just to let you know, I'm going to let you know twice in this, maybe multiple times.
I'm going to let you know every single time.
I'm going to let you know every single time when we have an opportunity to let you know that the main event will not be the main event, which would have been a great thing for the WWE to do during this entire broadcast. But no, they're not going to do that. But I will let you know because old Jake Manning's going to lead you astray.
I'm going to lie to you like the Fed would.
No, I'm not going to lie to you, nor will I lie to you about the next match, which is match number 3 with the team of Val Venus, Mark Henry, Gangrel, Steve Blackman taking on the British Bulldog and the Mean Street Posse.
They're just throwing motherfuckers together.
Oh yeah, that's all they did in this match.
Holy shit.
What were your thoughts on this match, Mike?
I mean, it's kind of like some of the other ones. It was too many people. It just seemed like they were just,
That's a Survivor Series. Teams of 4 survive because teams of 5 was much cooler to say.
Okay, I guess that was part of it. Like I had never seen outside of like a Royal Rumble. I was like, okay, that's the most.
Okay, so you saw Royal Rumble to WrestleMania, but you never got to the Survivor Series.
I was having Thanksgiving dinner, man.
Yeah, exactly.
I jumped off that shit pretty quickly.
We're like, what? There's going to be 5-on-5? Get the fuck out of here. Where's the Insane Clown Posse CD I was just listening to?
Where's the Great Malenko?
You're gonna have a 10-man tag? I need to get fucking way high for this. Never mind.
Too many people.
Never mind.
Riddle Box wouldn't do this to me.
So I was like just unfamiliar with all of those characters.
Okay, you wouldn't be the only one, but nothing against it. But not a lot of people remember old Pete Gas and Rodney. It's understandable.
They were the Mean Street Posse?
Yes.
Right, yeah, okay.
So, any other thoughts other than like
Too
there's a
many
lot of motherfuckers?
The Steve Blackman dude seemed like when you were talking about the dude earlier kicking some ass, that's who I thought you were kind of talking about, but just like he just looked like he was going to do that. He looked like he'd stepped off of a martial arts set somewhere filmed
out of a Komate?
Yeah, Kumite.
Kumite?
Yeah, pronounce it properly. Okay, it's Kumite.
Kumite.
They said Mark Henry was like 400 pounds. The weight of some of these guys, because I mean I've been like I'm obviously fat, but I have always been kind of small. I've just always been kind of short and everything. So just that another, human can get to that big and not be morbidly obese.
Yeah, you're more of a Rodney than you are a Pete Gas. Just to let you know. You're definitely no Joey Abs. No Joey Abs.
No, that was my nickname in high school for some reason.
Joey Abs?
For some reason, indeed. No clue why.
No, just say, hey, old Joey Abs. My name's Mike. Well, I'll take it. I'll take the abs part. Yeah, that's the thing too. Like I forget, like how green Mark Henry was at this time. The Mean Street Posse. And you really see it on display, but like when you were a kid watching wrestling, you're like, you don't think it's just wrestling and all that stuff.
Well,
but
because
now,
that's not something that we know.
Yeah,
at that age.
At that age, but like now, you train people and you kind of pay attention to that. I'm like, oh, you should really kind of be. He's rushing it, or he's not moving too fast or moving too slow at this time, and you're just really seeing that on display. And you just, and especially with all the stuff that's going on in the Attitude Era, like you forget all that.
Yeah,
but you just see that right here. And also, too, you could see Bulldog not in good shape at all. Like, he's... Especially when you know how good he is. Like, it was really, really tough to watch for me.
How much longer after this is he no longer with us? How much past this will he be a 10 Bell Pod episode?
A few years we're talking. Like, yeah, it's not
we're on the way down.
Yeah, it's on the way down.
I did appreciate the Coming to America reference of calling Mark Henry sexual chocolate.
Yeah,
exactly. Yes, sexual chocolate. Also, too, like Val Venus. I always had this thing of like calling him Pal Penis. I don't know why.
I mean, he got wieners on the mind.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like Val Venus, Pal Penis. I don't know why
Hearing
that
Jim Ross talk about how Val Venus is a self-proclaimed sexaholic was real weird. That made me feel some sort of way.
Well, and
I didn't, not in a good way either. I didn't like it.
Well, that's. Anytime Jim Ross talks about anybody's sex addiction, it's just uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And especially since he's sitting next to Jerry the King Lawler. Like, he should be talking to Jerry the King Lawler. Like, obviously you're next to the biggest sex addict, but you're not calling his problem out at all on Monday nights. But you're calling out Mark Henry, a man much further away.
Yeah.
And also, too, I find it funny, you got Val Venus, porn star. You have Sexual Chocolate, sex addict. But then you have Gangrel, who actually worked in porn.
Fuck yeah.
He actually worked in porn.
The director of such great film titles. I don't know any.
I don't know.
Add those in post edit, please.
It absolutely will.
So. He was just like made out to be,
vampire.
A 13-year-old kid that never got out of like the goth.
Yeah, like, he was an actual vampire. Did vampire club shit and awesome dude.
Yeah, I fucking love Gangrel. I'll see him Sunday. Oh man, he's the best.
Oh, he really is. And like seeing him obviously work against these guys that are
working his fucking ass off.
Working his ass off, making these other guys look good and putting them in the right spot. And just I was like, God damn, you've always done this. You've always made other people look good. God fucking bless you, Gangrel. Even though I don't think you believe in God.
I don't think you do either, and still God bless you.
Yeah, God bless you.
Man, I love Gangrel. Let's just talk about Gangrel for the next hour and wrap this up.
Yes. What else, anything else we got about this match we need to talk about?
Who was the other person on that team? Oh, Blackman. Blackman took that motherfucker's head off when he came in for that fucking savant kick.
Yeah, he did.
Just murder that guy. It was not Joey Abs and not Pete Gas, but the other one.
Just, I mean, kind of looking at it from like the outside, like I just wanted that dude to win.
Yeah, he kills everybody.
I must point out in commentary, Jim Ross was giving Jerry the King Lawler a hard time, like, just like the Cleveland Indians today, when he was trying to make a football reference about the Cleveland Browns, which is surprising that Jim Ross would fuck up a football reference in commentary. That's very odd. Like,
well, not a Sooner, so it don't really matter.
Mark that down on your calendar that Jim Ross got a fact wrong about football. Also, too, the babyfaces cheated to win in this. That was odd.
Were they babyfaces, though?
I don't know.
Steve Blackman was the only one I would buy that was a baby here.
That's true, too. That's true. But
one's an undead vampire. It doesn't really count good or evil. He's going to live longer than the rest of us because he's a vampire.
Something that might not live longer than all of us is Michael Cole walking into the women's locker room randomly.
Right back to being creepy as fuck all the way around.
Don't know what any of that was about. Yeah. That was just weird.
He's got a sexual assault charge, like case on his hands. Like he could go to like Vince, but whoa.
Yeah, like that's
getting groped up.
Yeah. I mean, they fired a trainer for doing something far worse, about the same as that, far less. So... which basically I guess was just done to hype up match number 4, which is the teams of Mae Young, Moolah, Deborah, and Tori taking on Ivory, Jackie, Luna, and Terry Reynolds. And this is a sudden death match, which I'm glad Jerry Lawler made the comment about Moolah and Mae Young and sudden death. Like, it's just hanging right there as the lowest of all hanging fruit. You got to make that
laid on the ground. You got to pick it up.
But also, too, it really kind of shows how little confidence the WWE had in the women they had on the roster for putting on a match. Like, this should have been an elimination match, but like, no, these girls, it just needs to be one elimination.
I mean, how are you going to do that in 3 minutes?
Yeah, exactly. And they only gave them 3 minutes out of the whole thing. Like, just have them come out, do their intros, look pretty, and leave. And that's basically all they were doing in the Attitude Era.
Yeah.
So to see them now have an entire pay-per-view with women on it is just a complete and utter 180. Like, it circles back around and comes back around again. Like, it's just amazing.
You know, if they were alive, Moolah and May would have been on that fucking pay-per-view.
You're goddamn right they would have. Like,
wrestling the main fucking event.
Oh, Mae Young would have slapped the shit out of Ronda Rousey and been like, bring it, bitch. Like, that would have been, like, the fact that we never got that in our lifetime is upsetting to me. But what were your thoughts on this match that went less than 2 minutes, Mike?
it was less than 2.
It was less. It was a minute and 50 seconds, I believe.
Yeah, because Ivory just got pinned. Like, I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, and also, too, the crowd is chanting, "We want puppies." Like, that doesn't age well. It doesn't age well
Maybe
at
this was
all.
the puppies and kitties talk here, maybe.
And I mean, just, you know, even not from like a misogynistic standpoint, like, who has ever referred to them as puppies before? That was kind of weird to me.
I mean, Vince started it, told Jerry Lawler to use it all the time, and that's just what you said every time you saw a woman, and just and God bless Deborah for walking to the ring in that ring in those fucking heels too. Like, just standing in a wrestling ring alone. Like, sometimes I always give it up for females, especially female valets, that get in the ring with heels on in a wrestling ring, especially with the padding, because it's not a hard surface, so it kind of sinks in and it kind of moves around. Like, there's no way that, you know, I could walk in heels, and walking in heels has got to be hard enough, but the fact of walking in heels in a wrestling ring is something we don't give women enough credit for in professional wrestling. When I see it, I'm like, how the fuck are you walking right now in this ring in those stiletto heels or these 8-inch heels that are even though thick, but still, God, you should be breaking your ankle right now. It's not even possible what you're doing right now.
Yeah, I think when it was Terry that was walking in, I think, like, somebody said, like, oh, what's her background? And Jerry Lawler was like he's like looking at her ass, and he's like, I've got all the background I need to see.
Just doesn't age well.
No,
it really
is. It feels creepy.
Like,
yeah, weird.
Just the world we live in now, which is a far better world. Just looking at this world right here, like, holy shit!
Yeah.
It's not even like watching a James Bond movie where the misogyny is just so over the top that it makes you laugh. Like, holy fuck, people thought this way? This is ridiculous. Like, it's so still real. Like, oh my gosh, I feel dirty that I existed in this time and I wasn't screaming from the rooftops about how bad this was. But I was a 14-year-old boy or a 17-year-old man, and I just ate it all up.
Just loved it.
Just loved it and didn't see past what the fuck I was seeing other than my hormones.
Yeah, so. I looked at my Pam Anderson poster. I was like, yeah, this checks out.
This tracks on how I am as a human being. Yes, this is true. Why do I still have this Pam Anderson poster? I'm a 36-year-old man.
The only thing that's changed about me is that I put it in a really nice frame.
I get nostalgic about hepatitis.
Don't we all?
Don't we all? And speaking of being nostalgic about hepatitis, we have a backstage interview with X-Pac.
Oh man, that's a good one. Talk about low-hanging fruit.
Listen, man, I'm killing it on the transitions today.
Damn.
X-Pac with Lillian Garcia before Lillian became such a focal point as far as being the ring announcer and singing the national anthems and stuff like that. I think this is very early in her career with the WWE. And X-Pac talking about how Kane is impotent.
Yeah.
That's what we talk about in Attitude Era.
Well, then Tori was talking about his little hose.
Yeah, that was a good little turnaround. I kind of dig that. But you know,
I guess politicians are doing that nowadays. So.
But I like how it's funny because Kane is now the mayor of Knox County,
Yeah.
and I gotta feel like maybe his opponent's political ads probably said things that were far worse about him.
He looks one. Oh, nothing's changed.
Yeah, or like they use the X-Pac clip of like, this is what people feel about, Glenn Jacobs.
Hey, he's impotent.
Yeah. Do you want an impotent mayor of Knox County? Vote no against Glenn Jacobs. But yeah, match number 5, X-Pac versus Kane. I thought this was a great match. Yeah. Because like I said, we've seen some people that were kind of green. We had some things that were just kind of thrown together. Some things that were just like a hodgepodge of things where this is a clear narrative, clear story. X-Pac.
2 great workers just going at it.
Great workers just going at it. What were your thoughts on it, Mike?
My first thoughts were that is the 1, 2, 3 kid.
Yes. That didn't fool you. That one you knew.
Yeah, that one passed me.
That one, nothing got past you on that one. Nothing got past you on that one.
I'm a fucking net.
And I might be wrong here, but was Kane he wasn't the Undertaker, was he?
No.
Oh, okay.
That's a lot of people may think in their head, but no,
okay.
He was you would have just missed Isaac Yankem. Yeah, he would have been wrestling as Unabomb probably in Smoky Mountain when you were watching wrestling. So
okay.
Don't know any of them. You're still looking at me blank. I got nothing for you. If you don't know who Unabomb is, go fuck yourself.
Bro,
I can't help you.
I
can't help you. I can't help you.
Where do you get these fucking Mizarks at, Jake?
I know, right? See, he's back in. He's back in. He's qualified. If you don't know who Unabomb, Ron Bass, and the Young Bucks, you're qualified for this podcast.
Ted Kaczynski?
Whoa! All right, hot takes.
Hot takes. Thoughts on the match?
It was just how enormous these people are, because how like Kane, I guess at 7 feet was like his X-Pac is what, like 220 something and 6'4", and he just looks like just me next to an average height man.
Yeah, old Glenbo's a big son bitch.
He's a big motherfucker.
Yeah,
still is.
Yeah,
no,
still
is.
Exactly. But just comparatively speaking, but and just how how agile Kane was. Too. That was kind of impressive to me. Watching these, like I don't remember a lot of like the individual moves and stuff.
Oh, we don't have enough time to talk about the individual moves. We're only halfway through right now. We got 5 more matches to discuss.
We need to speed it up a bit.
We're at like 46 minutes right now, so like you don't have to talk as much. Like we just like, hey, X-Pac is 1, 2, 3 kid, and that's your contribution to this match. That's fine.
Well, he's 1, 2, 3 kid, and he kicks Tori in the head, and that was.
He does.
And when she was laying on the mat injured, they move her. So like there's like maximum boob exposure on the ankle.
Stop kayfabing your tit, lady. Come on.
Which is funny because BB is one of the EMTs on the show.
Yeah.
The legendary BB. So, hey, thank you for playing along.
You're welcome. So, okay. Legendary BB.
Legendary.
But it's BB.
Yeah, BB.
Come on.
BB.
This motherfucker.
He didn't know who BB is. He didn't know who BB is. What were your thoughts on this match?
Not enough boob from Tori. I just feel like I'm just in this place now that I've gotta be.
You're covered in the filth right now.
I'm in the filth.
You're in the filth.
It was definitely the best thing on this fucking pay-per-view.
I'd say
easily.
Definitely one of the top matches on there for sure.
Just the entire time thinking about Kane being impotent, but then like 1, 2, 3 kid having like a real crooked dick. So that going through my mind most of the time.
So I forgot. Yeah, that's right. We do get to see X-Pac's dick later in life.
Yeah.
If only we knew.
With someone else on this card coming up.
Coming up. Well,
backdoor segue.
Oh, that would have worked if that was the next match, but that's a couple matches later. But that would have been a great segue. But yeah, that's right.
Work that out in editing.
And what, like Road Dogg like tripped Kane or something at some point? Like, are they not keeping tabs on any of the other people? Like, they just get to hang out in the locker room. And
everybody's just everywhere when it comes to DX.
Yeah, DX is just breaking up all kinds of shit. But Tori found out later in life that X-Pac did not have a small hose.
No,
just oddly
shaped. Crooked hose.
And speaking of things that are oddly shaped, match number 6. Prince Albert, Midian, Viscera, Big Boss Man versus The Big Show.
The lead up to this is better than this.
Oh, the clips that they show. What were your thoughts on the clips that they showed about Big Boss Man
Oh,
and the poem and the funeral? Like, what were your thoughts on that?
Like, was pulling the guy, like, he was pulling Big Show's dad's coffin around. And, like, Big Show's, like, getting thrown off of his dad's coffin.
Your dad is dead!
It's like,
Your dad is dead!
with his Blues Brothers car.
I mean, excellent poet, you know.
Yeah.
But,
Called my mama.
Yeah, just I love it. And he comes out with a black armband on too. Like, I'm in mourning too because your dad is dead. Like, I mean, at the time you're just like, man, this is so distasteful. But looking back at it and just the ridiculous of everything that's going on then, and looking back like, oh, this is gonna be ridiculous. Let's see a train wreck, and you see the fucking Blues Brothers car dragging a coffin with Big Show riding on top of it. You're like, yeah, I'm in. I'm in for all this.
Bravo. Finally, some character development.
Finally.
Prince Albert, definitely my favorite wrestler named after a dick piercing.
Yes. Yes. Okay. That's a short list. Short list. Not short list. Get it? Get the joke? Short list. Short list.
Small host.
Small host. Small host. Small host. So, but you know.
Yeah, but
Matt. Yeah. But I'm sure Matt Bloom has a big hose.
Yeah. I'm sure he does.
It's a big hose. So.
Still working there these days.
Yes, he is. He's doing a great job.
Coaching it up.
Great job.
Isn't Viscera, wasn't he Mabel?
There you go, see? Nothing gets past old Mike Buczek here.
I remember who everybody used to be.
Good. Wait a minute. So you're trying to say, what if we just said no, and then like, oh, so you're trying to say that all fat black people look the same? You piece of shit. Oh, man. Let's start this over.
No, medium was Mabel. Medium was Mabel, because the eye makeup almost looks like blackface.
Almost.
So.
Or he could have been a headbanger or a pimp. It all works out.
Either or. Either he was like 1/3 away from being in blackface.
He could have been all bit of it.
All that. But yeah, Big Show beats up his entire team just so it can make it a handicap match.
Yep.
So, any other thoughts other than that? It's very quick.
It's just the like he just pinned everybody, chokeslammed and pinned everybody like back to back, and then Boss Man ran off. Is that the same Big Boss Man from like the lighter blue?
Yep.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Big Boss Man was Big Boss Man, wasn't he?
He came back as a new Big Boss Man. I mean, a different outfit though. Yeah. You know? You gotta give him
right. He had more than one outfit.
Any other contributions, Zane?
Class over.
Okay. Well, we're going to get the biggest contribution of this entire show, where we see backstage Stone Cold Steve Austin get hit by a motherfucking car.
Because he's too injured to wrestle. Run him over with a car.
Yeah. Although you do see where they could make the cuts and interject a stunt man. Like they zoom in on the car. Like you can make the switch there, do the thing, and then follow the car, and then just switch. So like I could see how they could get that done.
Yeah.
But you know, as a child, I was like, they just hit that motherfucker with a car.
Yeah.
They just actually legit like hit, because back in the day of Memphis, like Eddie Gilbert was taking that bump, Jerry Lawler was taking that bump. So and then later, it wasn't until I rewatched this, I'm like, oh, they probably used a stunt man.
Yeah.
But like even hearing the story of this and the discussion of this, I'm like, oh yeah, Steve Austin just took one big bump, fucked up, so he wouldn't have to wrestle that night. And then now that I say that out loud, that sounds fucking stupid.
Yeah.
And once I see how it was shot, I'm like, oh, okay, I see how they did it.
Yeah.
Got it. All right, whatever. So what were your thoughts on your main event not happening now, finally?
I too was let down and was kind of convinced that he was gonna, you know, he was that it was gonna happen. I mean, why would you? I mean, I almost just said out loud, why would you take people's money under the guise of having this match and then not have the match?
Well, after you saw him at this moment in time when you're watching the show and you see how he get hit by a car, are you thinking that he could make it back to the main event?
I was, because I mean,
this is my point exactly.
Why isn't he gonna ride in on a fucking ambulance?
Yeah, because that's what you assume with pro wrestling, and
ambulance
it's done all the
right
time.
down the ringside. Here comes fucking old Stone Cold Steve Austin.
It turns out all he needed was a beer, and he was gonna be fine. You know? That was
exactly, and that's the thing with this whole thing. Like, you're not actually sure if he's going to make it to the main event or not.
You motherfuckers never saw Popeye? Come on now.
Because I'll tell you what, it's halfway through the show. We're not at a point where, if people ask for refunds, you can't be like, well, you watched 2 hours worth of the show, and you can't ask for refunds at that point.
You're not calling Prime Star getting your money back now, boy.
Nope, you've already seen too much of the show to get any refunds. We're right here. It's kind of on the bubble.
They won't even answer your phone call at this point.
So...
Yeah, I was just convinced that, you know, years of crushing cans on his head had strengthened his cranium, and just immune to any kind of
Sandman, but the same guy.
Well, I mean, his cranium would be strong, but it was his neck. It was the thing that was supporting all of that.
Yeah.
That was essentially the issue there. So, but match number 7, thinking of things that are supported, Chris Jericho supported China
Oh, man.
through
God
this entire
bless.
through this entire Intercontinental title match.
God bless Chris Jericho.
Yes, that's the thing too. Like China, a great attraction.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think as a wrestler she was as complete as she probably
No,
needed to be for an Intercontinental run. But at the same time too, it was very hard because female wrestling isn't what it is today.
Yeah.
So obviously she's not going to get the reps that she needs wrestling females, and then the idea of wrestling men is still very foreign, and she's fighting for that all the time. So she's kind of learning on the job at the time.
Yeah.
And obviously the Intercontinental title has a history of being, the workman's belt, like the best matches on the card. So obviously Chris Jericho coming into the company, he really wants to show that he's one of the best workers in the company, and he's put in there with somebody that's in this awkward position, of being a great attraction, but maybe doesn't have all of the skills needed to hold that position properly, but does deserve to hold that position properly. So it's a weird mix, and somehow Chris Jericho just finds a way to make this all
does it
all happen some way, somehow. There's a few bumps in the roads, but what were your thoughts on this match, Mike? Did you like it? Did you enjoy it?
I didn't enjoy it. To be honest, I didn't really enjoy any of them. But it was impressive to me. I mean, just kind of knowing, like, looking at it from a different lens. I mean, before as a 12, 13-year-old or whatever, and then watching now and being like, wow, the fact that they were able to just get up to like the top rope together, and just how much they have to work together to make these moves happen, and how easily you could mess something up. And then, I mean, that happens on like a pay-per-view event, and I mean, the whole thing kind of, starts to look like a sham and stuff. And I don't know about, other than like Owen Hart dying, some of those, like.
Yeah, and it really feels like, Chris is pushing China out into the deep end.
Yeah.
Like he's really pushing her to a place that maybe she's not ready to be at as a wrestler. So
top rope.
Yeah, so kudos to her for being committed and trusting Chris in such a way that they could do that. But that finish does not look good.
Fucking Lord.
No,
not even fucking Lord that looked bad. Fucking Lord, that was terrifying.
Yeah, it was fucking scary, and God bless both of them for doing that, and also God bless Chris Jericho, because he obviously looked like he bought High Spots generic barbed wire long tights for this match.
Huzzah.
God bless you for that. Something that doesn't age well in this is when Chris Jericho calls China a slut while pouring water on top of her.
baby.
Like,
I was like, where's the champagne,
That's
pop bottles on these bitches, don't you know?
This Survivor Series 99 has changed you, Zane. You're a different person now. Did you go vote before this podcast? Please tell me you voted before.
All red, baby.
All right.
Red wall. I don't think that's what people say today. Fucking psychopath.
And then there's also a moment where Chris Jericho has China between his legs in a powerbomb position, and he fake puts a cigarette out on her back. I picked up on that. It doesn't age well.
Well, you gotta appeal to the fans watching at home. That's what I do to my wife.
And Jericho definitely has his.
He probably never thought this would end up on a network.
Yeah, and never thought that people would call him out for some stuff like this.
Yeah,
but we are today.
He's not listening.
He's not. He's definitely not listening.
He's too busy setting up cruises.
Exactly, but obviously he has his fans in this match, and then but I feel like China is working so hard she wins some of those people over. Mm-hmm. So I think it's 50-50 or a good percentage 60-40. I don't think it's so pro Jericho.
Yeah,
and I don't think it's so one way China. I think people are really into this match because they really don't know who's going to win. You would assume maybe they're going to put it on Chris. Because you had that really great moment of China being Jeff Jarrett. All right, she's had a moment. She had a run. Let's get it on somebody who can hold a little more long term. But obviously, it's not what happens. Mm-hmm. But we get this amazing job of Chris Jericho. And I just love the Hurricanrana into the walls of Jericho. Mm-hmm. Just I think it's a good match.
Yeah.
I think from a technical aspect, it's a little rough around the edges, but at the same time too, it's just amazing the commitment and the trust and the way they work together. And like I said, like Chyna's in the deep end and she's swimming just to keep her head above water, and I think she kind of does. Yeah. Other than the finish being what it was, but I think the fact that they didn't die off of it,
I'd still buy it. Like he still just ate shit.
Yeah,
I mean, face first.
Bought it enough. I mean, regardless, dig the match.
Yeah,
dig it, like it.
So is that why he had to forcibly kiss Miss Kitty, because he was just?
I got to get something out of this.
Oh yeah, we forgot about that too.
Yeah.
Rules of
God
3.
bless her.
Yeah.
This match really, about sexual assault.
Really, yeah. God bless her.
We're going to talk about somebody that actually did something for women's wrestling in this match.
Yeah.
It's definitely Miss Kitty.
Stacey Carter.
Yeah.
Lovely woman. Lovely woman. So
George South's favorite.
Not really, but Molly Holly's his favorite.
Oh, that's right. Goddamn.
I know Molly Holly is not Miss Kitty.
You sure?
I'm sure.
Ask
yeah, we'll have to ask Mike. See, doesn't know. Something we don't know about is Triple H backstage with the McMahons arguing about shit. Whatever, it happens. I just talked about it. Let's get to match number 8 with the Hollies and Too Cool taking on Edge and Christian and the Hardy Boys. Now, the previous month, this was coming off of the breakout ladder match with Edge and Christian and the Hardy Boys, so they're a big deal, a big commodity right now. So let's try and get over the other tag team. How about we do other tag teams? How about that?
I love Bob Holly and Crash.
Yeah, they should have got a bigger run.
Yeah,
like they were so good together. They looked the part. I believe that they were cousins.
Yeah,
it was just great. I loved every bit of it. What were your thoughts on the match, Mike?
I couldn't get over some of the outfits. It's just so ridiculous. And Grandmaster Sexy cackling like a maniac. And that's, I don't know, that was really weird to me. Think of some of that. I mean, I watched this earlier this afternoon. And
quite okay.
Just there wasn't a ton that really stuck out.
Not even the sunset flip powerbomb to the outside by Matt Hardy, which I'm sure to this day he regrets. Yeah. I think right now, as Matt Hardy wakes up this morning, I'm like, yep, that's probably sunset flip powerbomb onto the outside from Survivor Series 1999.
Every November he wakes up that way.
Every November he's like, yep, that's what's bothering me today.
Never forget.
I have to say that the commentary in this match.
Oh, God damn it. That was what I was getting ready to talk about.
It's so fucking good. Like it's its own like drama going on.
It was far more entertaining than the match.
Yeah,
but it was so good because this is where he starts like, "That's your son," and him just like that whole.
Oh
thing.
Yeah, JR's hitting him hard with it.
But then King's like, "But Stone Cold was your best friend. Why aren't you there with him now?" Oh. And it's like shitting all over him for it, and it gets to the point where it's like, "Fight already." Fight or fuck, guys. Let's go.
Oh, yeah. And, Lawler doesn't let it go.
No.
Oh, and it's so fantastic because Jim Ross is just hitting Lawler like, that's your boy, that's your boy, that's your boy. Then all of a sudden it dies for a second. And then Jerry Lawler's like, well, Stone Cold's your friend. Why aren't you at the hospital right now? What are you doing here with me doing your job? Like, yeah, sure, you're being professional, but that's your friend. You're always talking about how you're a friend. And just fucking...
My best friend was in the hospital. I'd be there. Not here with you.
Over and over. Like there was a cutoff and a heat to this whole commentary. Like, it was...
him hard.
Oh, it was... so good. It was a match inside of a match. I'd say watch this match solely for that commentary.
Just for the commentary.
Oh, so good.
And to find out why Matt Hardy's like Matt Hardy is.
Yeah, why Matt Hardy's all crippled up now in November.
Matt Hardy.
Crippled Matt Hardy.
Yeah.
Holly top rope drop kick off into the Whisper in the Wind.
Yeah, that was real cool.
Yes, I just wrote that down and I was just reading it. I'm like, why do
Whisper in the Wind, and then he fucking.
It's one of those things like I just was reading it off and I'm like,
what does that mean? Oh yeah.
Holly top rope drop kick off a Whisper in the Wind. I'm like, oh yeah, that spot's great. Just holler out at that, great.
Because when it was set up, I wasn't paying attention to them on the top rope in that way. I just was like, why is he so far out there for that that all four posts? Mm-hmm. And then I found out why.
Yeah. Great fucking spot. A lot of good spots in here.
Yeah.
Commentary's fire. Watch it just for that.
Yeah.
But I got a special update. Much like Shane had an update on the card, it promises it'll still be a triple threat match, but Stone Cold will not be there. Guess what? We only have 2 more matches, so you can't get refunds back.
Yep.
You've now seen 8 matches on a 10-match card. We're going to get refunds now? No, sorry. But there will be a triple threat.
D.
There will be a triple threat. But before we get there, we will have a tag team title match. Match number 9, the New Age Outlaws versus Al Snow and Mankind. Now, this time, to let you know, a little piece of information about what's going on in Al Snow's life this time. Al Snow's action figure was pulled off the shelves at Walmart, and they made a brief mention to it. And I forgot that this ever happened. And it was just a story that I've heard in passing a couple times, but I finally did a little bit more research on it, and it's pretty hysterical. But anyways, Al Snow's action figure was pulled from the shelves at Walmart when a Sabrina Patron, I believe is how you would say her name, a professor at Kennesaw State University, complained that Al Snow's action figure, which contained obviously a small version of head, was a decapitated head, but not just any decapitated head, a woman's decapitated head, and felt that it sent an inappropriate message about violence towards women.
Have you watched anything else in WWE, sweetheart?
As opposed to it being a mannequin head, clearly a mannequin head, but she thought it was a woman's head.
She should have watched the special when a woman gets kicked in the head.
Yeah.
But
if you watch this pay-per-view, you'd really have something to complain about.
She's like, what type of message are we sending to children about brutalization of women? So then they just pulled his action figure off the shelf. Because
that's what did it.
That's what did it.
They took away Al Snow's perfectly fine action figure, not took care of anything else they put on this show.
No, exactly.
Okay.
That's the even funnier thing.
Okay, man, Scout.
Like, she could have attacked way more stuff that WWE was doing at this time, but she's concerned about this action figure in Walmart of a mannequin head
that they had to cart these things past the gun section to get them out the door. These things. This sends a bad message.
That's another thing too. That's another angle to hit it at too, Mike. But yeah, and then the whole angle is that Al Snow is depressed because his action figure is no longer on the shelves. I didn't have too many more notes about this match. What were you guys' thoughts on it? I was just kind of ready to see this main event.
Ready for this to kind of get over
this main event that I never knew that I wanted in my life to happen. So
I just couldn't get over the one New Age outlaw dude that looked like a can of Monster Energy drink. That was
No.
When they started bringing up when King started talking about how you didn't see Billy Gunn out there, maybe he ran over Stone Cold
because of blonde hair.
Yeah. Because he's like, yo, you saw everybody else there, but you didn't see Billy Gunn. Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Did anybody ever come what was the payoff to that? Who hit him?
Rikishi.
Okay.
That makes sense, right?
Yeah, of course. Why wouldn't it?
Yeah. And, according to the way it goes, at least the Bruce Pritchard podcast, they just let's hit him with a car and we'll figure out who did it later.
Good.
And then they were like, you know what? They'll never expect Rikishi.
And they didn't.
And the story was that Rikishi did it for The Rock, so The Rock would have an opportunity to win the belt. And because he felt like his Samoan people were being held down, so he was trying to help The Rock, who is his cousin. And that was the story. So, there you go. That's how we get to match number 10. The Rock taking on Triple H, taking on The Big Show. I remember being a 17-year-old man and being utterly disappointed, and little did I know that this was going to be still the biggest disappointment of my life. Yeah. What were your thoughts on the match, Mike?
Just the double suplex was really
good.
I was like, just watching that as an adult, just being like, well, those guys could really get hurt doing that.
Why wasn't it Test?
You think about it, that could have been.
He was there the entire time, and he's a McMahon guy.
Oh, you mean mean hitting the car?
No, why wasn't he put in the match?
Well,
other than the fact that they wanted to put it on the Big Show at this point.
Yeah.
Well, it would lead me to believe that the way they've set all this up, and it's going to be a surprise person. They talk about Test often. Who was there? Why wasn't it him in the match?
Well, here's what I've heard is Test had a lot of heat because Vince Russo kept saying that Test was a younger version of Kevin Nash, and he was saying it to Triple H and Shawn Michaels, and they're like, oh, that motherfucker's not Kevin Nash.
Yeah.
I mean, it's basically like somebody coming up to me and Caleb and go, oh, this guy, he's a younger version of Zane Riley. and Zane Riley's off and not with us making money over here. And we're like, fuck you.
Yeah.
You can't talk about our friend that way. So then Test was immediately buried because of that.
Okay.
And then also, too, Test at that time was making statements of, he goes, yeah, I've only wrestled 14 matches in front of people. And so he was very green and all that. And so obviously he wasn't ready for that main event spot where I think obviously they wanted to put it on Big Show. And it's kind of one of those things like, well, they'll never expected this guy who wasn't supposed to be in it would do it. And obviously it's a good story in the sense that, you know, his dad's dead. His dad's dead, as Big Boss Man will remind you at every chance he gets. Overall, if this was the advertised match, I think it's a good match. Shit gets wild. It's all over the place. False finishes. Shane sliding in as a ref. Vince coming back, screwing Triple H. A lot of run-ins, a lot of drama.
He was able to hit dude with the belt and then also be the referee.
He's the champ. He's the chairman. He can do what he wants.
Yeah, that was just I don't know. They have a real they had a real referee problem back in the I mean, they're getting gouged in the eye. You know, you hear about police officers having a really dangerous job. WWE referees, they really have it.
You know, zebra lives matter. So just let's always remember that zebra lives matter. But Triple H's tan game, strong.
Yeah. Some real good tans.
Strong. But like I said, overall, I think it's a good match. It's interesting because obviously with Austin out, it ushers in an era where The Rock and Triple H basically carry this company on their fucking backs by themselves.
So was Stone Cold going to originally win the belt? What was the original finish? I ponder.
Maybe Triple H probably to retain.
Yeah.
I would guess just to keep it going. I think they just put it on Big Show because nobody would have guessed.
Yeah.
But also too maybe to take the. I mean, I don't know if they would put it on Stone Cold. I think it just the plan was like let's get it off of Triple H and let's see what happens, what Big Show can do with it, and then also too, you have all these matches with The Rock and Triple H. Because sometimes when you put a belt on somebody, you have to do all this craziness of Vince running in and Shane running in and DX running in and all these swerves and to protect this person, protect him being a champion, keep him strong, keep the chase going. Where if you just book a match between The Rock and Triple H and there's no belt involved, well, either of them can win. So the false finishes are going to be better. People are going to bite on those more. The finish is going to come more out of nowhere. You know, all those things. There's less expectations. There's less of a narrative being pushed forward. It's just a match between two guys that are just going after it. And that's kind of, you know, what we'll see in the upcoming months. And like I said, I remember this moment in time and like, oh man, I lost my Stone Cold.
Yeah.
And I lost him in this show that I wouldn't have bought if I knew he wasn't wrestling on because I was the biggest Stone Cold fan.
Yeah.
But I remember like this being the emergence of Triple H and The Rock, you know, because if Stone Cold was so at the top, nobody can come close to him. It took him getting injured, I think, to really push The Rock to the forefront and definitely putting Triple H to the forefront. So I think you could argue that it was the best thing that could have happened at the end of the day. Now, as a child watching this, pretty upset that it happened.
Yeah.
Pretty fucking disappointed, and it's part of the reason why I probably blocked out this whole pay-per-view. Like I didn't remember hardly any of it.
Yeah.
You know, later in years. Like I remember bits and pieces of the Hardy Boys in the ladder match and some of the other pay-per-views that I watched over the years, but this one I was just drawing a blank on. And then when I got halfway through, I'm like, "Oh, I have seen this before." And it was mostly because of this whole thing they did with the Big Show. But at the same time too, it was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
So
it had that same effect on me, and I saw it earlier this afternoon.
Well, nice to know that it changed your life as well. Any other thoughts about Survivor Series 1999?
No, it's over.
It's over.
There's far better Survivor Series to watch.
There is. Like, the fact that there's 10 matches, there's a lot of shit and a lot of just crammed in there.
Of course, our other option was the exact same amount of time, but there were only 5 matches.
Mm-hmm.
So, holy shit, just watching 5 matches for 2.5 hours would have been nutso also.
Oh, yeah, that would have been rough, too. I think just because we always had different entrances and stuff to go through. So, like, it wasn't too bad of a watch, but it's definitely not one of the better Survivor Series. So
read about it. You don't have to worry about watching it.
Yeah, just get the highlights of it. There's probably some clips online, and you just get through it. Maybe watch the commentary between Jim Ross
watch that one match
and Jerry Lawler with the Hollies, Too Cool, and the Hardy Boys and Edge and Christian. Just watch solely that match. That's got a bunch of good spots in it. Commentaries off the chain. Just watch that one. Mike, any other thoughts?
No, I mean, I haven't seen it, but did the women get maybe 4 minutes the following year, or?
Oh, no. We still had another
probably
decade.
Even on it. Yeah.
We still have a decade and a half to go before we make any real progress in that department. But we are making some real progress in this show, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining us today. But before we get out of here, Mike, do you have anything you have to plug? Twitter, shows coming up? You have a live microphone in front of you. This will be released this Thursday. You look terrified because I just put you on the spot. Would you like me to kick over to Zane?
I wasn't prepared with plugs, but I do. You can follow me on Twitter at No Offense Guys.
Okay. All right. Gives you an idea of the type of humor you'll be running into probably.
You'll be talking about some puppies and
puppies and
at Love the Pups.
Gifts of him pouring water on women and calling them sluts, forcibly making out with women who are out there in thongs. And then putting a fake cigarette out on somebody's back. Those things. The huge of somebody who runs a cruise. What do you got coming up, Zane?
This weekend I'm in Chester, South Carolina, where you're not allowed.
I'm not allowed.
For APW. Also a different APW in Spartanburg, South Carolina. And then I'll be at OSCW in Hanahan, South Carolina with our best friend, Gangrel. Also, check out my other podcast called Extra Talented, a wrestling podcast. Jake's on it. I don't know that we've talked about it on here, other than I'm a sellout for... doing
No. The word is traitor.
I'm traitor.
Traitorous.
I'm a traitor that gave Jake 2 full episodes.
Traitorous C-bomb is what you are. 2
full episodes to talk about his rise and fall.
And listen, we could do a part 3. I got more stories. I got more.
I'm gonna get you.
You're gonna get me. But,
give that a listen. Extra Talented Podcast. It's out there. You'll find it.
It's a real good podcast. You can listen to it, even though he's a fucking traitor.
How's Tin Bell Pod going, dickhead? Suck it.
Yes.
Where's my water at? I'm going to throw it on you, slut.
Yeah.
Come here. Come take my mom's cigarette, bitch.
Check out Tin Bell Pod. Got a lot of great shows coming up. Also, too, just follow me on Twitter at @ManScoutManning. If you're listening to this timely fashion, I'll be at Northeast Wrestling. Also, too, I'll be Disruptor Pro coming up. I have a show in Winston-Salem coming up. We'll be at SuperCon in Louisville. That'll be a lot of fun. Word is through the grapevine, I am moderating a Q&A with Jim Cornette, which I feel like I will be asked not to moderate once he finds out that I am the moderator. But if this happens, I highly recommend, if you're in the Louisville area, SuperCon event, I'll be moderating a Q&A panel with Jim Cornette.
We might try to work out a way to where we can record that and put that out just as a special.
Yeah, that could be interesting. But like I said, I feel like once he figure out I'm the moderator, he will tell them to fuck off promptly.
Take him down Tryon Street and hang him from a fucking lamppost.
Yeah, probably something along those lines. But we'll see what happens, because I don't think anybody knows our history together, even though Jim's been very nice to my face every single time, and I've really got nothing against him personally. So he just hates all my friends.
Company.
Anyways, big plug to Six Squirrel Studios. Thank you, Don, for everything you do for this podcast. And if you want Don to make your podcast sound nice, get up with Six Squirrel Studios. Also, too, folks, like I said, big thanks to SpongeCake7 and John Strickland, Swerve City. Thank you so much for the reviews. You can leave a review and get a free t-shirt. You can get up with me on Twitter at ManScoutManning, on Instagram at ManScoutManning. Make sure you log on to howdidthisgetbooked.com. Subscribe on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, CastBox, YouTube, SoundCloud, everywhere where podcasts are available. Thank you very much for listening. This has been another edition of How Did This Get Booked?
Woo! Yeah.